Hey everybody, it's Friendo, and this is Plum Wine, and there's a lot of drama going on right now. I'm not going to talk about any of it. I am going to revisit the sex worker issue, because when this was drama, I didn't make a video about it. So here it is. Now, I have no great insight into the life of a sex worker. My perspective is from the point of view of a customer. Like many men my age, I have been to quite a few gentlemen's establishments in my time, and I have, in fact, paid a prostitute for sex. Now, in every case, what I've done has been legal. But that's not really my concern. In terms of what the laws should be for people being able to sell sexual services, be they men or women, as long as we are talking about people who are of the age of majority, I think we should be listening to sex workers themselves for what is best. I do not believe that we as society at large or as a moral majority need to be stepping in and dictating to people who are already in the industry, whether this be producing pornography or whether this be stripping at a club, employed as private dancers, prostitutes at a brothel, or working independently. They're the ones who know what is best for them in their industry. We need to, first and foremost, be listening to them about what laws and what pay structures and so forth best reflect their interests. Now, on the other hand is the trafficking issue, but this is how I'm going to bring them together. They're not. They don't go together. The issue of trafficking is a separate issue. If you are talking about kidnapping people and forcing them to do anything against their will, let alone sexual services, you're talking about something that is criminal in and of itself. The fact that it involves forced sex work does add a further dimension. We would say it is a more heinous crime, but we are talking about something criminal in and of itself, depriving someone of their liberty to begin with. The fact that we on both hands are talking about the selling of sexual services is only a superficial similarity. We are talking about individuals of majority who are legally competent to make their own decisions, who can give consent. They are the ones whose opinions we need to listen to first and foremost if we're going to talk about policy. We do not need to step in as society at large and tell these people, these men and women, what it is they need to be doing. Now, in terms of my own perspective on this, my point of view as someone who has paid for these services, I get a little offended, or more than a little, by the implication or outright statement that this is inherently degrading to women. Now, a number of people on the anti-side will sophisticate this a bit by saying it's not inherently more degrading to women, but it is still inherently degrading to both parties. When you pay someone for a sexual service, you degrade your own sexuality as well as theirs. Resting on the idea that this is not an authentic expression of sexuality. So my response to that is, of course it is. If you are to say that relationships are the natural way to go about expressing your sexuality, well, this is a kind of relationship. It's just very structured, a very short duration. But I have to present this as part of that. That the woman I paid to have sex with, a brothel in Nevada, when I sat down and I was talking to her before the sexual services, she had on the wall full collection of Frank Miller's Sin City. So we spent time talking about comic books. We talked about Kurt Vonnegut and Robert Heinlein and science fiction and movies. There was a connection. It was not me coming there and saying, how rough do you want it? You're ready for all of this? No, there was an actual interaction between human beings. And she asked me questions about who I was, where I was from, the things that I had done, the way she would any human being she was interacting with in any kind of a context. And one of the things that she brought up as we were talking about life and art and entertainment was that she has some customers, some regular customers, who she has been seeing, having sex with, longer than her husband. Now, this is not to say that she has a deeper connection to these customers, but that she has had a longer relationship with them, a relationship of some kind. And when it comes to judging between the positive position and the anti-position, because I do not identify as a sex-positive feminist, but when it comes to judging between the two positions, I agree with the sex-positive position that all sex is transactional. Whenever you are talking about a relationship, however legitimate society wants to make it, it is still transactional. If you're saying, well, the difference between my relationship, the sex that I have with my partner, the difference between that and pornography or prostitution or any kind of sex work is that I'm doing it only for my own benefit and only for my own joy. Well, okay, but you're also doing it for the benefit and the joy of your partner. And it's when the two of those coincide, when those two interests come together, that we call it a legitimate relationship. We wouldn't say it's legitimate if one person is getting all of the enjoyment, although society may still endorse it. But all that we're looking at for the legitimacy of any sexual relationship is that two people's interests have coincided. That's what happens when you have a sex worker meeting a client. Their interests have coincided. There will be a transaction that they will agree on, and it is not anybody else's business. Now, on top of that, there's an experience that I have had over and over again with the strip clubs that I have been to and with this particular prostitute. When I have paid women for different services, now maybe you were with me up until now and maybe I'll lose you now, but this is about being honest. When I go to a strip club, I generally try to get away with whatever I can get away with. And I have gotten strippers to go the extra mile in the VIP room. Cost me a pretty penny, but there you have it. And in all of these instances, there was conversation involved. There was respect shown, and at least an attempt to have some real and human interaction. And in a lot of these cases, the women complimented me on my personality. I got used to being told, "You're really a nice guy. You're really a good person. Please do not lose that. I don't see enough of that." Women appreciate that. You can say on one hand it's a reflection that most of their customers are assholes, but no. It's a reflection on the fact that they have not lost touch with their humanity, and that they still connect decency to sexual expression. That to them, their customers are not just money, but their customers are still people. And yes, I have run into women working in strip clubs who really did not want to be there. Women who were kind of glassy-eyed. When you talk to them, they didn't really respond to you. Women who didn't seem to enjoy what they were doing. And they just didn't get my patronage. But the majority of the women I met in these positions actually enjoyed what they were doing. They derived some enjoyment out of it. And not just sexual pleasure, but a sense of personal fulfillment. That they're in a profession that paid them well to interact with people. Specifically men, and specifically in a sexual context. But the fact of the matter is, it was real, genuine, human interaction. And for women who stay in sex work, that is what they are there for. In my experience, in my opinion. So, in short, to summarize this, I support sex workers' rights. The people who need to be brought into the conversation, who you need to base their opinion on when you are talking about the issues of legalization, decriminalization, social norms, social values, social mores, talking about the damage that can be done, the risks associated with sex work. Well, you need to be listening to the sex workers.